So today I want to look at Cyberpunk 2077 in 2024 with all of the updates that have come over the years. And we're going to look at some city settings as well. So not all the settings are going to be super useful, but we're going to start off with 1080p, which is definitely a little bit overkill with the graphics cards that we're using. You've got your specs on the left here, so if you're interested in that, there's that. And we're going to start with the low settings just to see if we can get like a baseline. The GPU is not going to be very much utilized. It's going to go sort of under 50%. You can see on the top left, he's barely reaching 50. Granted, we are in the menu, so it will go up a little bit. So yeah, let's start just to get a baseline. Okay, so it does jump a little bit over 50%, but you can see it's definitely still a CPU bottleneck at this low resolution with basically everything switched to the lowest you can have it. Again, I appreciate this is not a very realistic scenario, but you can see we're getting very solid frame rates at 180 here. We're gonna start counting FPS right here. The 1% lows are not going to be great. It's going to be dipping a fair bit, but it's to be expected with such high FPS. So we're going to get the car and start driving around a little bit. Again, I appreciate this is not a very realistic resolution and settings, but I find it quite interesting, to be quite honest, just to see how far we can push this. So we're going to get the settings, higher incrementally and stuff. We're going to go into ray tracing and the high resolutions until we finally get to settings I would personally use. But yeah, let's just drive around a little bit here just to get a feel for, what performance we can expect at this low resolution with these low settings. We've got a bit of a gunfight here as well. Let me see if we can get away from them. Honestly, the game doesn't look too bad at 1080p as well. I thought it was going to be a lot worse. But I mean, it looks sharp enough. If you got a 22-inch monitor, maybe 1080p, it's not going to look too bad. And low settings, honestly, don't look that bad either. It is quite plain, but it's definitely playable. And you're definitely not missing out too much on, the bells and whistles if you're playing at 1080p low. Okay, so up next, we are still in 1080p, but we are going to utilize the Ultra preset. It says custom because we've switched off the resolution scaling, so we're going to go native for obvious reasons. I'm just going to crank up the FOV. I don't think it's going to make too much difference in performance, but I just like it a little bit higher. But yeah, we're still on at 1080p, and let's see what we can expect. So we're in the same spot. Just going to start counting the FPS right here. And the only thing that really went up is the usage, maybe a little bit. Actually, I don't know. It kind of seems roughly the same still. Yeah, the usage is actually still the same. The FPS went down a fair bit, so it went from sort of 180s to 100. So ultra settings do make a difference in terms of the overall FPS, as to be expected. This is still native resolution, so we're not utilizing any DLSS or any frame gen and stuff. So you can definitely get it a little bit higher, sacrificing a little bit of that clarity and stuff. But the DLSS quality, to be honest, looks very, very good in 1080p anyway. Would I play the game like this? Probably not. I probably would try to utilize some form of ray tracing if possible, because the game does look pretty. But honestly, it looks pretty decent at this point. Ultra settings are quite demanding, and in all fairness, you can probably get away with high settings without compromising much of the visual quality here. But yeah, all in all, it looks quite decent. What we're going to do next is try and push the GPU to its limits, if it's even possible at 1080p, by utilizing ray tracing. So yeah, you can see 1% lows are not great, 83 FPS, right? Let's have a look how it looks with ray tracing. Okay, so up next, we're actually gonna try to stay at 1080p, but we're gonna try and max it out with ray tracing. So I've got path tracing on. We're leaving the DLSS and frame gen off for the time being, and we've got every single thing as high as it goes, apart from some of the visual noise I don't particularly like. But everything else is still ultra or high. And let's have a look what we can expect. So my benchmark right here. There we go. So we actually finally utilizing our GPU. You can see it's at 99 to 98%. So this is as high as it goes in terms of ray tracing, path tracing. No frame gen, nothing like that. No reconstruction, just pure native rendering. And honestly, I was expecting to maintain 60 FPS, but you can see that even at 1080p with a 4090 is just not really going to happen. Wow. I gotta say that the game does look really pretty, especially if you can get yourself an HDR display. I'm not playing in HDR at the moment, but I do have an HDR screen, and I gotta tell you that it looks absolutely unbelievable when you play with HDR. Nevertheless, though, path tracing is doing some heavy lifting when it comes to lighting. You can see it looks way more realistic in my opinion, especially when you look at the headlamps and the reflections in the glass. Wow. It actually looks incredible. Would I recommend playing like this? Absolutely no. This is 1080p with no reconstruction, and reconstruction doesn't really take away that much from visual detail, so... Wow, I wasn't actually expecting to drop under 60, but you can see I have 1% lows at 47. It's crazy. And the GPUs can finally stretch its legs and, you know, give it all it's got. Almost crashed over that, okay. I mean, that was a busy area, so you can see like 60 FPS. It goes a little bit higher now that we left sort of the main city center, but still, it's not something I expected. My CPU is finally having a breather here. You can see the temps actually dropped. The 14900K runs pretty hot, so seeing it in the 90s is very common in the CPU banned scenarios. But yeah, honestly, it looks freaking gorgeous. Look at this. Absolutely crazy, right? I think we're gonna move on to 1440p next. Actually, no. What we're gonna do? We're gonna go to DLSS. We're gonna try see if we can salvage some of the performance here. So bear with me. If we just go to enable some ray reconstruction with DLSS. So let's go DLSS super resolution. Let's put it on quality. DLLA is anti-aliasing, but we're gonna go DLSS quality. We're gonna go with ray reconstruction, and we're gonna go frame gen as well. This should give us a quite a big boost. Let's apply this. Back out, restart our benchmark. Oh god, we are flying through here. 180 FPS. Are you kidding me? I mean, I can tell there's a slight visual noise, but apart from that, it looks pretty much the same. And we just gained 100 FPS. Are you kidding? It still looks gorgeous with path tracing. Again, I do appreciate 1080p, but to gain 100 FPS, that's quite some achievement, to be honest. Wow. Well, up next, we're going to have 1440p, so let's go. Okay, so up next, we have 1440p. We're going to basically do the same thing that we did with 1080. So we're going to start with native resolution with the lowest preset. We just turn off upscaling, so that's why it says custom, but other than that, it's a low preset. And let's see what baseline we can get. Gonna start counting the FPS. To be honest, I think for the most part it's going to be quite similar to 1080p, since our GPU is not being utilized very much. It's at 70%. I think 1080p had 180 frames, this is 150, so not a huge difference, and definitely not the way you should be playing this game if you have a higher end GPU. Even like a 4080 or 4070 Ti Super or 4070 Ti, you probably want to utilize high settings at least with 1440p, but it still looks reasonably okay at this resolution. So what we're gonna do next is we're gonna try some ultra settings before we try ray tracing. But yeah, not too bad. We're still not utilizing the GPU, so let's move on to the next bit. Okay, so up next we are still at 1440p, and we're just gonna use the ultra presets. It says custom because we turned on resolution scaling. I'm just gonna keep repeating that just in case. But other than that, it's ultra settings, no ray tracing just yet, or ray reconstruction, anything like that. And let's have a look what we can get. To be quite honest, we only lost about 10 FPS then. The GPU is finally being fully utilized at 1440p, so this is without ray tracing yet, so... Oh, there we go. It's actually dripping a little bit more. 1% lows are quite low with 87 over there, and average are about 120, but it's going to drop very soon because we're going into the center right now. God, it looks way better than 1080p, I'll tell you that much, especially on my 32-inch monitor. Like, it is quite stretched out. It's a 4K monitor, so normally I wouldn't be playing at this resolution. This is also without any sort of form of DLAA, which is native resolution, sort of anti-aliasing lab scaling kind of thing, but it's still native. So I'd probably at least play with DLAA because it does look quite soft, but it does look very pretty. Ultra settings without even ray tracing do make the game look much better than just low settings. And then up next, we're gonna try some ray tracing. Okay, so up next we're going to be testing 1440p still, but we actually enabled path tracing, which is the highest form of ray tracing that we can do at this resolution. We still have no resolution upscaling, and we have all the settings still at ultra, and yeah. You can see that at this resolution we are going to lose so many FPS. You could even see it at 1080p that we struggle to maintain 60, and at 1440p with native resolution you can see that it's just never going to happen, even with the 4090, so... Definitely a game that's gonna, you know, push future GPUs quite hard as well. You can see that we are managing to stay above 30. which is not ideal. And at this resolution, you still do want to use DLAA, which is sort of the form of anti-aliasing that deep learning is using. But ideally, you'd want to utilize at least DLSS 2.0 or 2.5, whichever version it is now, the resolution upscaling version. And ideally, if you don't mind the slight input delay that you get with frame generation, I would recommend switching that on as well, especially this being a single player title. You're not missing out too much on the input latency, input lag and stuff, so definitely switch that on if you can. We are pulling a lot of wattage as well, but what we're going to do next is we're going to actually enable some reconstruction just to see what FPS we can expect. So we're going to turn on DLSS super resolution to quality, and we're going to use reconstruction with frame generation on the top of it. And I believe we should be able to get a healthy boost from that. So we're just going to switch that on, apply the settings, and then we're going to reset the benchmark once we get back into the game. And once the settings are applied, you can see that we've gained at least 90 FPS, which is absolutely crazy. Honestly, I'm still shocked on how much you can actually gain from using frame gen. I do appreciate that the input lag is not the best, especially if you have a low baseline of performance. But you can't deny this the increase in smoothness and the increase in FPS. Even on 1080p, we saw, I think it was like 100 FPS plus. This is a 90 FPS plus. 4K is not as big of a jump, but it's still quite significant. So if you have a 40 series GPU, like a 4060, 4070, and you want to play at those higher resolutions like 4040p or 4K, you gotta use frame gen. It's honestly such a big difference, and the game still looks absolutely incredible. There is a bit of softness, but honestly, I recommend it. If you got DLSS, absolutely use it. Gorgeous looking game. Okay, so now it's finally time for 4K, what we've been all waiting to see. We're going to start with the low preset as with the other resolutions, so everything basically as low as it goes. It's just custom because we switched off ray tracing, reconstruction, and DLSS. Let's have a look what we can expect. Honestly, not too bad. I was expecting a little bit less than 120, so this is a positive surprise, but, you know, this is the lowest preset we can go for. The game is looking still pretty decent. I mean, it's very, very sharp at this resolution, but we are missing on the lovely, lovely ray tracing, so we are going to test it in a moment. But for the time being, let's just drive through the city center just to see if we can get any severe dips. The 1% lows are still above 90, which is good to see, and the average FPS, I mean, they're saying above 130 for the time being, so good to see, good to see. We might drop a little bit into the 100 teens just because of some of the sequences here in the city. You know, if you get a lot of NPCs and cars on the screen at the same time. It can drop sometimes. You can see it's going to like 120s and stuff, but it's nothing to scuff at. Honestly, it's quite... Ooh, that's a nice looking car. Can I... Oh, damn. Looks okay, yeah. Like a very fancy BMW or maybe like an Audi. I'm just 20-point reverse, and then there we go. I'm not enjoying this music. How do you switch off the... Ah. There we go. Radio. No, thank you. Alright. There we go. Beautiful. Right, moving on. We are averaging sort of 130s and stuff, so absolutely beautiful. Would I play like this? Absolutely not. Like, what are you doing with 4090 playing while low settings? Come on. PC Master Race, right? We go Ultra, and even if it costs us all the FPS, we are not going to play at low settings. Alright. Okay, so up next, we are still using 4K, but we now switched on the Ultra preset. Still no ray tracing, so these are the things we're going to use, and we're just going to see what baseline we can expect. So we've got a fancy little car here, and this is not that bad. I mean, actually, I take that back. You just dipped under 50 FPS. Damn, okay, I didn't expect it to go this low. It's a little bit blurry. I think this is the motion blur. I might actually switch off the motion blur real quick. There we go. Found it. Okay, a little bit better, a little bit less smidgy. I mean, at low FPS, motion blur is not really helping too much. It looks a little bit too smidged or smudged or whatever you want to call it. And let me just restart the FPS here. There we go. It's not ideal. It's not the best way to play this game, and we're not even utilizing any ray tracing. This is native resolution of 4K with ultra settings, and I mean, it's very demanding still. The game is looking pretty. It's looking way better than it was on low, but is it worth the FPS sacrifice? I wouldn't be so sure. So, yeah, we're going to look into ray tracing next. Okay, so now, up next we're gonna go balls to the wall. We're gonna use a ray tracing overdrive, which is gonna switch off all the ray tracing reconstruction and all the frame gens and DLSS, and we're gonna go super native, just regular native, I guess, with path tracing on, and we're just gonna switch off some of these extra bits that I don't particularly like. Just gonna switch off motion blur as well, and I'm not expecting much from this, so let's have a look. Oh god, I mean, that's kind of exactly what I was expecting, so... Call my car. We're getting 20s right now. 20s on an RTX 4090. 440 watts we're pulling as well, so this is not exactly cheap. Oh my god, this looks terrible. I think it's because it's just such a slow frame rate. Jeez. You are definitely going to want to use some DLSS and some ray construction, because it is just... I think it's the lack of ray construction. You can see how blurry it is, the path tracing with native resolution at this low of a frame rate. Isn't exactly playable either. I mean, it does look very pretty when it does finally load in and stuff, but god, not the way I would play at all. I don't know why the windscreen and the glass is overall quite pale white. I don't really understand. 1% lows are 18 we gain, attacked by some gang members. I don't want to die here. Oh god. I'm gonna skip to when I've dealt with it. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. I must have run a red light or something. I'm not really sure. So let's keep going. It's gonna keep FPS average. There we go. Yeah, it is in 20s. It's not ideal, to be honest. I definitely would never play like this. This is absolutely atrocious. But we do have the beautiful DLSS to try, so let's go ahead and try that now. Going to use all the tricks that we have up our sleeve. So first off, we're going to put DLSS onto quality. We might try balance as well. Let's put like maybe 20. We got ray reconstruction as well, and we've got frame gen. So let's put all the bells and whistles and the tricks that we have right now, and let's see what we can expect. Let it all settle, and beautiful. Wow, we are getting above 60. I am sensing a fair bit of input delay, but honestly it's still playable within the realm of me not minding it too much. Yeah, this is way better. The game looks absolutely beautiful. The best example of ray tracing, you can see sort of oh, it's actually, you can see the trail behind the car. It's not great. I think the baseline is too low for the frame generation to actually kick in properly. These are upcycle settings, so I'm not sure I would recommend playing with path tracing on, to be quite honest. Don't mind the driving. Maybe just regularity, because it is still quite shimmery and noisy, even at 4K. So maybe we could try something like just regular DLSS with just regular ray tracing. I am somehow still being chased. I must have hit someone. My bad. Okay, so we're actually gonna try just regular ray tracing without path tracing to see if we can resolve that visual shimmer and noise. We've got frame gen on still, we've got quality DLSS, so hopefully we're gonna regain some frame rate. We're gonna leave it ultra. The cycle between ultra and cycle, there's not a huge difference, so we're gonna leave it ultra. And let's see what we can expect. Oh yeah, I think this is immediately better. I think the path tracing it's a beautiful and useful technology. However, because of the extremely low baseline that we were getting of like 15 FPS, it was losing a lot of details. So this is ray tracing on ultra with DLSS on quality, and this is looking way better. Absolutely gorgeous game. Let me just drive into the light somewhere so we can maybe see some of it. Oh, there's some flickering going on. I think there's textures that are still loading, which is not a huge deal. It settles after a few minutes, so it's not, yeah, it's not a massive problem. But it is looking way sharper, and this is probably the way I would be playing the game. I don't mind the ray reconstruction and the frame generation if you have a decent baseline, and I think the baseline again is about 40 to 50 FPS. Anything lower than that as a baseline is going to cause issues with frame gen. So if you can try and lower some settings, I guess, even on the 4090, I know you can't max this game quite there just yet. But this is quite a nice and playable experience with 100 frames of average FPS. With 1% lows above 60, which is quite important. And this is obviously in the most demanding area as well, in the center of the city. As you drive into the outskirts, it's going to go up a little bit. And yeah, it's honestly not too bad. If you wanted to, because it's quite a high resolution to start with, 4K, you could actually put it at DLSS balance as well. So you're going to get some FPS without losing too much clarity. Like, it's going to be a tiny bit softer, and that will give us another sort of 10 to 20 FPS. which is a very, very smooth high refresh rate experience. So if you're into your, 120, 144 monitors and you got a 4K one, yeah, try with DLSS balance. You're not going to miss out on too much, and you can still use ray tracing at ultra with frame gen. But yeah, honestly, not bad. This is the way I would probably play this game. I mean, I have played this game like this, so yeah, not bad. Alright guys, thank you so much for joining me. This is going to be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope it was informational, and I hope you found some use in it. So I'll see you next time. Bye.